KSJE and the Farmington Public Library present Cuentos Hahne and Tales.
Hello, my name is Beth Troxell from the Farmington Public Library. I am here to read you some books from our collection. The first book that I picked is called The Unexpected Love Story of Alfred, Fiddleduckling by Timothy Basil Ering. This is The Unexpected Love Story of Alfred, Fiddleduckling. Captain Alfred was sailing home. On his little boat there were new ducks for his farm, nestled safe inside his fiddle case, a precious gift for his wife. It was a beautiful duck egg that was very close to hatching. A duckling born in my fiddle case must be named Alfred Fiddleduckling, Captain Alfred said with a giggle. You're going to be a very special little duckling, Captain Alfred told the egg. But something unexpected was coming. It was a storm, a big one. A sudden and mighty gale whipped the seas into a raging fury. After an endless hour of howling wind and tossing seas, there was silence. No waves, no wind. A blanket of fog covered everything. Hidden in the whiteness, as thick as pea soup, sat a little cottage overlooking the bay. On the porch stood a gentle lady in a gray wool coat. Tears of worry dropped from her cheeks into the mist. Yet far offshore, deep in the fog, alone and drifting, the egg cracked. No one was there to hug little Alfred when he stumbled out of his shell. But there was an object floating not too far away in the waves. Alfred quacked. The object did not quack back. Alfred swam up to it. It did not reach out to him, but Alfred embraced the object with all of his heart, and he caressed it so it would not feel as lonely as he did. Then something unexpected happened. The object made the most beautiful sound Alfred had ever heard. Alfred loved the object, and by the sound of its beautiful music, the object loved Alfred too. They drifted through the fog over wave after wave, playing together until, bump! Alfred felt something touch his feet. They had landed at a very mysterious place. Alfred held the object close. Don't be afraid, he said, and in a few moments the soft, comforting sounds began again. The sounds drifted on through the foggy reeds until they reached the very keen ears of a beast that was lurking in the tall grasses. The beast's heart pounded. How unexpected! He wanted to follow those sounds. He charged through the fog and found them. Drool dripped from the beast's jaw. It leaned in even closer. Alfred trembled with fear, and his music became fast and wild. The huge beast lifted its front paws high into the air until it was standing tall on its hind legs. And then, suddenly, that big old beast started to dance. Captain Alfred's lost dog had longed for the sounds of his master's fiddle. He, too, had been very lonely. Now, in just a twinkle of an eye, the duckling and the dog were best friends. Being lost with a friend was much better than being lost alone. Sadly, though, lost was lost. As the hours stretched by, the friends grew cold, wet, helpless. The tiny quivering music left in the object was not enough to boost their spirits. But that tiny sound was enough to excite the ears of the gentle lady wearing the gray wool coat, who was praying for her husband, her dog, and the new ducks for their farm to return home safely. She ran through the fog straight toward the sound of Alfred's fiddle. Tears of happiness streamed from her eyes when she saw her beloved doggie. Then she marveled at the beautiful duckling and his magical fiddle playing. "Please don't stop," she said. "Don't ever stop playing your wonderful music. You are a very special duckling." Alfred felt more joy at these strangely familiar words than he had ever felt in his body before. It's no surprise that the most joyous sounds of all bounced from his fiddle. But you see, those sounds were a surprise, a very unexpected surprise to someone else. As you can guess what will happen if Alfred Fiddleduckling just keeps on playing. They're all together with all the ducklings in the last picture with the farmer. So this was the unexpected love story of Alfred Fiddleduckling. So that was a really fun book. Now the next book I'm going to read is a classic. You might be familiar with it. It's called The Little Engine That Could by Watty Piper. So this is something that you're probably familiar with, part of the story. It has really wonderful illustrations. And it is called The Little Engine That Could. Chug, 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 puff, 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 ding dong, ding dong. The little train rumbled over the tracks. She was a happy little train, for she had such a jolly load to carry. Her cars were filled full of good things for boys and girls. There were toy animals, giraffes with long necks, teddy bears with almost no necks at all, and even a baby elephant. Then there were dolls with blue eyes and yellow curls, dolls with brown eyes and brown bobbed heads, and the funniest little toy clown you ever saw. And there were cars full of toy engines, airplanes, tops, jackknives, picture puzzles, books, and every kind of thing boys or girls would want. But that was not all. Some of the cars were filled with all sorts of good things for boys and girls to eat. Big golden oranges, red-cheeked apples, bottles of creamy milk for their breakfasts, fresh spinach for their dinners, peppermint drops and lollipops for after-meal treats. The little train was carrying all these wonderful things to the good little boys and girls on the other side of the mountain. She puffed along merrily. Then all of a sudden, she stopped with a jerk. She simply could not go another inch. She tried and she tried, but her wheels would not turn. What were all those good little boys and girls on the other side of the mountain going to do without the wonderful toys to play with and the good foods to eat? "Here comes a new shiny engine," said the funny little clown who jumped out of the train. "Let us ask him to help us." So all the dolls and toys cried out together, "Please, shiny new engine, won't you please pull our train over the mountain? Our engine has broken down, and the boys and girls on the other side won't have any toys to play with or good food to eat unless you help us." But the shiny new engine snorted, I pull you. I am a passenger engine. I have just carried a fine big train over the mountain with more cars than you ever dreamed of. My train has sleeping cars with comfortable berths, a dining car where waiters brought whatever hungry people want to eat, and parlor cars in which people sat in soft armchairs and looked out of big plate glass windows. I pull the likes of you? Indeed not. And off he steamed to the roundhouse, where engines live when they are not busy. Oh, sad the little train and all the dolls and toys felt. Then the little clown called out, "The passenger engine is not the only one in the world. Here is another engine coming, a great big strong one. Let us ask him to help us." The little toy clown waved his flag, and the big strong engine came to a stop. "Please, oh please, big engine," cried all the dolls and toys together. "Won't you please pull our train over the mountain? Our engine has broken down, and the good little boys and girls on the other side won't have any toys to play with or good food to eat unless you help us." But this big, strong engine bellowed, "I am a freight engine. I have just pulled a big train loaded with big machines over the mountain. These machines print books and newspapers for grown-ups to read. I am a very important engine indeed. I won't pull the likes of you." And the freight engine puffed off indignantly to the roundhouse. The little train and all the dolls and toys were very sad. "Cheer up!" cried the little clown. "The freight engine is not the only one in the world. Here comes another. He looks very old and tired, but our train is so little, perhaps he can help us." So the little toy clown waved his flag, and the dingy, rusted old engine stopped. "Please, kind engine," cried all the dolls and toys together, "won't you please pull our train over the mountain? Our engine has broken down, and the boys and girls on the other side won't have any toys to play with or good food to eat unless you help us." But the old rusty engine sighed. "I am so tired. I must rest my weary wheels. I cannot pull even so little a train as yours over the mountain. I cannot. And off he rumbled to the roundhouse chugging, I cannot. Then indeed the little train was very, very sad, and the dolls and toys were ready to cry. Then the little clown called out, "Here is another engine coming, a little blue engine, a very little one, but maybe she will help us." The very little engine came chugging merrily along. When she saw the toy clown's flag, she stopped quickly. "What is the matter, my friends?" she asked kindly. "Oh, little blue engine," cried the dolls and toys, "will you pull us over the mountain? Our engine has broken down, and the good boys and girls on the other side won't have any toys to play with or good food to eat unless you help us. Please, please help us, little blue engine." "I'm not very big," said the little blue engine. "They use me only for switching trays in the yard. I have never been over the mountain." "But we must get over the mountain before the children awake," said the dolls and the toys. The very little engine looked up and saw the tears in the doll's eyes, and she thought of the good little boys and girls on the other side of the mountain who would not have any toys or good food unless she helped. Then she said, "I think I can. I think I can. I think I can." And she hitched herself to the little train. She tugged and pulled and pulled and tugged, and slowly, slowly, slowly they started off. The toy clown jumped aboard, and all the dolls and toy animals began to cheer and smile. Puff, puff, chug, chug went the little blue engine. "I think I can. I 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 think I can." Up, 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 faster and faster and faster and faster the little engine climbed, until at last they reached the top of the mountain. Down in the valley lay the city. "Hooray! Hooray!" cried the funny little clown and all the dolls and toys. "The good little boys and girls in the city will be happy because you helped us, kind little blue engine." And the little blue engine smiled and seemed to say as she puffed steadily down the mountain, "I thought I could, I 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 thought I could." The end. And that was The Little Engine That Could by Watty Piper. Now that was a fun book and a classic, so you might have heard that story before. So now I would like to read a couple of little stories from a book called Once There Was a Story by Jane Yolen. So Jane Yolen traveled through the world and found different stories from around the world. So I'm going to read a couple of short stories from this book. And this one is in the section called The Tales of Magic Makers. And it is called Silly Wishes, and this story is from Sweden. Once, long ago, an old woman was alone in her house making a supper of bread and butter for her husband, who was out chopping wood. There was a knock at the door, and in came a young woman as lovely as the day. Now, one needs to be careful when young women lovely as a day come knocking on one's door at supper time. Who knows what mischief can happen then? "May I borrow some butter?" asked the young woman. "Of course," the old woman said, without thinking twice. So the young woman took the butter, and as she went out the door, turned. "Because of your kindness, I grant you and your husband 3 wishes. But be careful. Even good folk come to harm if they do not think long and hard about those wishes." And just like that, she was gone. Now, remember, I did warn you about such women. There are almost always fairies, and fairy wishes, if not well thought through, can be nothing but trouble. The old woman did not think twice before she made her first wish. "I love a big fat sausage to go with the bread and butter." And zap! Just like that, a sausage as juicy as an orange appeared in the frying pan. And then the old woman's husband came home, tired and hungry, and she told him the story and showed him the sausage simmering in its juices in the pan. The old man yelled, "Foolish old woman! Why don't you think before you speak? You could have wished for anything in the world. Gold, jewels, a big house, and you only wished for a sausage?" He shook with rage and didn't think twice himself. "Well, I wish that silly sausage was stuck to your nose." With a zip and a sizzle, the fat sausage flew out of the pan and stuck right to the end of the old woman's nose. She pulled at it and pushed at it and slapped at it, but she couldn't get it off. The sausage was stuck there fast. The old woman screamed and hollered and cried, "Do something! Do something! How can I live the rest of my life with a sausage at the end of my nose?" Well, he thought not once, not twice, but for the rest of the evening. He thought about wishing for a pocket full of gold, or a new house with a big new stove that would keep them warm all winter. But in the end, he could not help feeling awful every time he glanced at the sausage stuck to his wife's nose. So in the end he said, "I wish that sausage be gone from your nose and back in the frying pan where it belongs." And no sooner said than done. The old woman's nose was fine. The sausage finished cooking in the frying pan, and the old man and the old woman had the best dinner ever. And the moral is, wishes are fine, but who is the winner if wishes end up being eaten for dinner? So the next story is another classic. You probably heard about it. It's from Germany, and it's called The Shoemaker and the Elves. So I thought it'd be fun to read this classic story. There was once a poor shoemaker and his poor wife. They lived in a poor house and had a poor business. In fact, business was so poor that all he had left was enough leather to make one pair of shoes. "Poor us," said the shoemaker that evening. "After this, whatever shall become of us?" "You can only do what you can," said his wife. "Cut out the pattern, say your prayers, and come to bed." So the shoemaker did as she said. He cut out a pattern for a pair of boots, knelt at his prayers, and then went to sleep. They did not wake up until the morning light. The shoemaker got out of bed and went to his workroom, ready to start on the boots. But when he got there, what did he find but a pair of boots so beautifully sewn he could never have made the likes of them. "Wife! Wife!" he called, and there was so much wonder and fear in his voice, she ran in from the kitchen, where she had been making the poor breakfast of milk and bread. When she saw the boots with their tiny perfect stitches, she shook her head. "Maybe," she said, "this is the answer to our prayers." And perhaps it was, because just then a customer came into the shop, saw the boots, and was so pleased with them he paid far more than the usual price. There was enough money for the shoemaker to buy leather for 2 more pairs of shoes and a bit of sausage for the next morning's meal as well. That evening he cut out the patterns for the 2 pairs of shoes and said his prayers and went to bed. He and his wife snored all through the night. The next morning his wife cooked sausage in the kitchen. The shoemaker went into his workshop, and there were 2 perfect pairs of shoes with tiny, beautiful stitches. The first 2 customers who came into the shop bought the shoes for far more than he would have asked, and this time there was enough money for leather for 4 pairs of shoes, as well as cheese and sausage and bread and tea. And so it went. Each night the shoemaker cut out the leather patterns, and the next morning he found shoes that had been made as if by magic. One customer told another, and soon the shoemaker and wife were rich beyond their wildest dreams. But their good fortune troubled the shoemaker and his wife. They didn't know if it was a good spirit or a wicked one watching over them. So they decided to stay up all night and watch. They cut out the patterns together, for now there was too much work for just a shoemaker on his own, and said their prayers, got into their bedclothes, and pretended to sleep. But long before the church bells had rung the midnight hour, they sneaked to the darkened house to stand behind the workshop curtains to watch. Just at midnight they heard thump,